What if I told you there was once a kingdom where singing could get you killed? In the ancient kingdom of Orizu, the wind once carried the sound of 1,000 songs. Drums echoed across the valleys. Flutes danced with the breeze. Children sang beside the great river. But that was before the great drought. When the rain stopped falling, King Maliki lost more than his crops. He lost hope. Consumed by grief and anger, the king made a terrible decree. "Music has angered the gods," he declared. "From this day forward, no one shall sing, no one shall play a flute, no drum shall ever beat again." Silence became the law. And slowly, the land began to forget how to live. Deep in a dusty village lived a girl named Zola. She was an orphan, a girl of shadows, a girl of rags. While other children ran and laughed, Zola walked quietly through the dry streets. Because Zola carried a secret. Hidden inside the hollow of an ancient baobab tree was a small clay flute. It was the only thing her mother left behind before the fever took her away. Every day Zola watched the earth crack like broken glass. The great river had become nothing but a trail of grey sand. The king's magicians sacrificed gold, they sacrificed cattle, they sacrificed jewels, but the sky remained as hard as brass. Because they did not understand, the earth wasn't hungry for gold, it was thirsty for a soul. One moonless night, the thirst became too much. Zola crept quietly out of her small hut. The ground cracked beneath her feet. The wind carried nothing but silence. She walked to the baobab tree. Slowly, she reached inside the hollow and pulled out the flute. Her hands trembled because to play music was to risk death. She looked at the dying sprouts around her. Then she whispered softly, "Forgive me, mother." Zola lifted the flute to her lips. The first note floated into the air, soft and thin, like a bird testing its wings. The second note was deeper, like the heartbeat of the mountains. It was the song of the first rain, a melody forbidden for a generation. Something miraculous happened. Zola began to cry. Her tears were not just for her hunger, but for the silence of her people. One glowing tear fell from her cheek and landed inside a deep crack in the earth. Suddenly, a tiny green leaf pushed through the dust. It turned toward Zola's voice, but the music had reached other ears too. "Halt!" Royal guards burst from the darkness. Spears gleamed in the moonlight. Zola was seized and dragged to the palace. Zola stood before King Maliki. His face burned with fury. "You dare break this silence? You dare bring back the curse of music?" The palace trembled with his anger. But Zola did not kneel. Though her knees shook, she stood tall. "My king," she said softly, "the silence is the curse." Then she pointed to the floor. "Look at your feet." The king looked down and gasped. Green vines were creeping across the palace floor, following the path of Zola's footsteps. The air smelled of wet earth. Zola closed her eyes and began to sing. Her voice rose gently, higher and higher, piercing the heavy sky. Suddenly, crack! Lightning split the heavens. A drop of rain fell on the king's forehead, then another, then another, then another, and soon the sky opened in a thunderous roar. Rain poured across the kingdom of Orizu. Villagers laughed, children danced, drums beat again, and the great silence was broken forever. King Maliki fell to his knees beneath the rain, and from that day forward, Zola was no longer the orphan of the shadows. She became the voice of Orizu, and the kingdom learned a truth it would never forget. Sometimes a single song is more powerful than 1,000 swords.